totally good. Do I need to say yes? No.
No. You're good. Okay. So I'm here with Mr. Dave Reynolds. He is a music teacher in the Fairfax County Public Schools. You're looking at an incredible woodworking shop here in Vienna Jammers, which is his non-for-profit percussion ensemble that he does in the community. He's actually, I know you're what, how many marimbas are you're in the process of building right now?
We're going to 89. We're in block 55 through 66. This is 55. Actually, this is like 55 through 78 right here, bars.
So when it's all said and done, you will have built 89 marimbas since COVID, correct?
89 marimbas since September.
Wow. Yeah. And so for you, I know some of the backstory. So you were not a marimba builder before COVID, correct?
No, I was definitely. Yeah, but not before. So 2012 is when I first started learning how to build a marimba.
But COVID kind of made it where you had to, like, how did you get 89 orders for marimbas? That's the story I'm trying to get to.
I got where you're going. Yeah. So the nonprofit that I run, the Vienna Jammers, is a percussion ensemble. And when I took it outside of the school system and made it a nonprofit, we needed instruments. So that's where I first learned how to build the marimbas. So we have rehearsals here. That was back in 2012. We have rehearsals, and everything's going along fine. We're growing. And then when COVID hit, we had to shut everything down. I mean, and our organization is all about rehearsing, kids rehearsing together, and then going out in the public and performing. So, when pandemic hit, that was a big blow. So over the summer, I kind of tasked myself and presented to the board a way, how do we zig and zag so that we can be, I don't want to say pandemic proof, but we essentially can, the business can still run, the organization can still run. We can keep the lights on, we can keep the space. And even if we get shut down again because the pandemic gets worse, we can still operate, fully operate. And so step one to that was, we have 125 kids in 7 different ensembles. 5 of the 7 ensembles play these marimbas primarily. 2 of them are steel pan ensembles. So the idea was, okay, well, what if I build a marimba for each family, and that way they have like a practice marimba at home. So 2 things. One, we're going to meet with less people in the space at a time. So like one of our ensembles has, 24 kids. Well, let's space it out and only meet 12 of the kids and kind of pot it up, right? So 12 of the kids once this week and then 12 kids the next week. And so they'll alternate or what, right? So we see less kids at a time. That's less in-person rehearsals, but it allows us to come in with our masks on, say 6 feet apart and have our, and rehearse. But then, since you're meeting less frequently, when you go home, you've got to practice marimba. We create a virtual portal. We post information up there. We post videos up there. And the kids they can get that, still that live in-person session, but then they can go home and they have an instrument there to play, and they can check out the portal and like continue to get better at what they're working on. So that was kind of that was the moment that I was like, all right, well, so let's crank out a boatload of marimbas. And I also had to kind of figure out the practice marimba design, because it needed to be somewhat similar to what we use here, but also portable enough. Initially, we were going to try to have them transport them back and forth, but we decided against that. So it needed to be small. It needed to be, the kids need to be able to practice on it, but not be terribly loud, so like they could practice and not, totally distract the entire household. And so I've actually gone through a couple of permutations of it over the course of building the first 54. But shout out to my boy Tom Bourne. He's the marimba builder out west that I apprenticed from back in 2015. I think it was the first time. And I reached out to him, and he had a design, and I said, I want to try this, and he suggested I make some modifications, and then I did some more modifications and kind of ended up with this version, which I'll show you later on the tour. But anyway, so that was the impetus behind cranking it out. COVID was. And so now we're still meeting in person, but if we need to shut down, let's say a COVID case pops up in one of our pods, or someone shows up and they're test positive, and we need to shut down and quarantine. All the marimba kids will have a marimba at home that they can play on, and we can continue the instruction and not miss a beat.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I know, I think you had mentioned to me do you have that sponsorship now, or you're very close to getting a sponsorship with Capital One? I think you were saying there's going to be a public space there.
Yeah, so it's I would call it a partnership. We actually, Arts Fairfax is a great arts organization for nonprofits in the area, for artists, of all kinds. And we've gotten grants from them year after year. They've been super supportive in that regard financially, but they also got in touch with all of the nonprofit performing arts groups in the area probably 2 years ago now, or maybe even 3, probably just 2. I don't know. COVID, it messes a little bit with
it's been a long year.
Yeah, probably just 2 years. But anyway, essentially, you've got this Capital One buildings, multiple buildings going on. Capital One is right in Tyson. It's like right where 495 and 66 all kind of 7, Route 123 all come together. And Capital One has been building a bunch of buildings, and they're building a brand new building. And then part of their new building was they wanted to build a performing arts facility right there in Tyson, and a big one. Like it holds. The idea was that it would hold 1,500 seats, like a 1,500 seat auditorium. Wow. Big, beautiful. Trying to be, really nice. Like if you were to go downtown to the Kennedy Center, and there's marble everywhere, and big, just that kind of aesthetic and that kind of size, and also a front area that could serve as a big banquet area, and there's a black box theater. Anyway, and then book it nationally, right? So get big acts to come in there, and sponsor them. And so that was in the works, and Arts Fairfax kind of jumped in and started communicating with the builders. And I want to say that the Fairfax Fairfax County Board of Supervisors also kind of got involved and said, listen, if you're going to build this facility, then you have to do something to make it accessible to the local musicians in some way, shape, or form, whether it's working with 501c3 nonprofit performance groups or whatever the case may be. So between the county, the board, and the Arts Fairfax, they kind of worked it out that the deal was, go ahead, you get the go-ahead Capital One to build this facility, but you have to have at least 30 nonprofit performing arts groups from Fairfax County be able to access it to perform there at a way discounted rate, like, bare bones rate, so they can afford to perform there and also have access to a beautiful 1,500 seat theater, right? And so they all worked it out, and then we all applied and went through that process. And I'm not sure how many applied, but Vienna Jammers, the organization, ended up being one of the spots that made it through the application and was chosen. And so we're slated to perform there for our big jam in 2022, I think. Yeah. So it's right. It's not even done. I think the first, and this is all barring, I mean, we're talking, September of this coming year, 2021, is when it's slated to open. We'll see if venues are opening up, to full capacity at that point or not. But that following May, that would be our, next season's end of our season would be May 2022. And we're slated to perform there, which we have the date and everything. So I'm super pumped about it.
Well, I'll be there. That'll be awesome. And then I know you said, so in terms of like people who may be interested in this, that see this and are like, oh man, my kids would love something like this. What's your age groups that people can join, and how do they start joining? And is there can you join anytime, or is it only one time a year, and that kind of thing?
Yeah. I can walk you through the process. Essentially it's an auditioned group. And to get into the group, we have second graders is our youngest age. So like 8, second grade, all the way up to sixth graders, like 12-year-olds, is where is kind of the entry point for the groups, right? So, and what we do is we just have summer camps each year, experience camps, we call them. And it's a week-long half-day camp where your child gets the opportunity to learn a little bit about drum set, learn a little bit about marimba playing, learn a little bit about hand percussion. And by the end of the week, they've got a good just kind of, sense of what we're all about. And we've got also an opportunity to kind of, critique them along the way, see how they are, see how they react, respond in the group with the instruments. And then we look at who we have in the ensembles already that have, signed up for the season, and then what spots we have available. And then we look at those experience camps, and we make offers, and the offers for the whole season. So once you commit, you commit for the whole season, which runs September through May. And then once you're in, you're in Jammers as long as you want to be in, season after season. You don't try out again.
Cool.
And then once you make it, you age out of the marimba groups at sixth grade and going into seventh grade into middle school. You can choose to continue, and that's where we have our steel pan groups. So we have a couple of steel pan ensembles that you can continue to do. And then we also have a high school marimba group that we just started this year. So that gives us all of our groups. So we have second graders up through seniors in high school, but to get into the organization to try out, it's only open to second through sixth. So all our 7th through 12th grade kids they were in at an early age.
Understood. And then is there any geographic fencing, or can someone from DC come, or Maryland, or is it Virginia only, or?
You just got to be able to make the rehearsals. So
just as long as you can get there.
As long as you get there. So we have kids that drive. We have one kid that drives from Manassas to Vienna. Her nickname is, every Jammers has a nickname. Her nickname is NASCAR because they drive so much. We have another kid that comes from DC. She comes in from DC, and her nickname is actually Reagan National, like DCA, which also play on her initials as well. So kind of all over. I would say I haven't checked the demographics recently, but last time I checked, we have about 25 different schools represented. So kids from 25 plus schools, private and public and homeschool, and second through seniors in high school, and from DC to Manassas. And I would say predominantly it's Vienna, Falls Church, Oakton area, but yeah.
How are people finding you? Can you promote it in your, like, as a teacher, can you promote it in the Fairfax County Public School, or is it just word of mouth, or just?
I think primarily word of mouth and social media. We don't really we have an advertising budget, but we don't necessarily, we're not running ads in multiple places.
Sure.
Our big jam at the end of the year is kind of our biggest fundraiser, and we sell tickets for, and that's, we definitely advertise that in the public as much as we can to get, new people involved. But at this point, with 25 different schools, as soon as you get one kid from a school in the group, then that very quickly turns into 2 or 3 kids from that school, And we definitely have, and I'm the executive director and founder. We have an assistant director. We have got a 7-member board. I mean, it's a pretty big operation at this point, relatively. But we still, I would say we run about, say, what's the math? 30, 60, about 60 kids through experience camps every summer, new kids. And of those 60, we usually have spots for about 30 to 40.
Okay.
So give or take, every year changes a little bit, but so we still have to turn kids away at this point.
Oh, wow.
And this is season 8 of being a nonprofit, open to the public. So word of mouth seems to be working. I mean, on one hand, I love getting the support, and the more people that know about it, the better. The more people that get the chance to experience the music itself and the kids performing. That's one of the main missions.
So are you guys writing the music yourself, or how are you, do some of the kids compose the music, or where's that coming from?
Yeah, all of the above.
Cool.
I'll do arrangements of popular cover tunes. I'll write original stuff. I'll use original stuff written by some of my other colleagues. And when we have, at this point now, we've got 1, 2, 3. I'd say we have 4 composers
In the group.
that are in the group that are just like, can I write a song? I'm like, sure. And then they'll come up with it, or they'll say, hey, can we work on this together? And yeah, we'll work this. And yeah. And then I'll be like, all right, we're going to play so-and-so's, piece. And it's awesome, right? Because the kids are like, yeah. And then, the kid has so much, pride, just to be like, I wrote this and we're playing it,
Yeah,
and so
yeah. It's bringing it, birthing it into the world. That's amazing. Like,
yeah.
Are you able to show us some of the instruments? I know you said you're there at HQ. I'd love to see.
The connection stays connected. Yeah, let's. And actually, before I leave the workshop real quick, I'll show you. So here is a set of here are raw marimba bars on their way to being cut down, and then here's a finished set from a practice marimba, like a set of 15 bars that's kind of ready to be put onto a marimba. Yeah, it's ready to be put onto a frame and played. So that's kind of like start to finish. And then these are, as we walk by, these are the rails that the marimbas will go on, little joinery at the end of them.
Yeah.
And then these are the frames, the ends that the big end and the little end. And then as I show you the workshop, you'll see how that all comes together.
And are you building the marimbas by yourself, or do you have help?
I've had many people offer to help. And I've had some people help. Part of it is that the tuning of the bars is what takes the longest amount of time, and that is kind of it's an art and a science, a little bit of woodworking and a little bit of musicianship and artistry. So I can't really give to somebody to do. There are some like repetitive task cutting things I can give some people to do, some things, but I mean, I also, like, I am getting paid to build the marimbas. I'm not building them for free. So part of me is, there's a piece of that's like, I don't want to necessarily, get free labor. Like, I feel bad asking somebody to help when I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm not paying you.
Right. Yeah. What's in it for me? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. You can learn how to build a marimba. I'm actually working on putting a video together that's like, so you want to build a marimba, and then it's like I've been documenting it all the way through. Cool. So, all right. Well, this is, as you saw kind of in the background walking around, this is the marimba room where we do a lot of our rehearsing. You can see some of the practice marimbas that are in use. They're low and kind of sitting down. And then there's some, we call these the low riders. And then the Aussies, these are 3.5 octave marimbas.
Wow.
Right here and right here. And
you
then
built
in the back,
all of those, Dave, or?
So some of these, remember I told you about Brent Hull? He was a couple of these, 3 of these are the ones that he started to build, and then I apprenticed with. Okay. And then the next versions I built from start to finish. So back here are our bases, and you can see, like, they're just bigger bars, and they have, all of these marimbas have pipes, like have the pipes. There's most of the pipes for the marimbas, but for practice purposes, we take them off because the pipes just amplify the sound. So to keep noise level at a minimal, we just let the basses stay kind of piped up. But yeah, so here's let's see, if I set you down, I'm sure viewers are going to get dizzy at this point. But so here was the first version of the practice marimba, and so it's got a little handle at the top, pretty portable. You can carry it. And it's got a couple of holes in the back where you can put the marimba mallets to store them. And there it is, just a little 2-octave marimba.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I don't know what in the world it will sound like through my AirPods, but let's see if I grab a couple.
You want to do a little demo?
Yeah, sure.
And you said, and you could ultimately attach pipes to those if you wanted to?
Actually, with these marimbas, I wouldn't bother attaching a pipe, but what you could do, I was initially going to put a box underneath it, so just a resonation chamber.
Okay.
But I've also told the kids, like, they can experiment with, if you set this on top of a laundry bin, like, what does it do? Like, try to experiment, find things around the house you can set it on and play it and see what it sounds like. I don't know. Can you hear that at all? Is that
Absolutely. It sounds like my phone
yeah?
ringing.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
great, man. Sounds awesome.
yeah, it's not bad. You know, for a little practice marimba. I mean, it definitely it's loud enough, and the kids, you know, I could teach the kids a bass line and say, okay, here's the bass line to the song, but on your, you know, practice at home on your practice marimba. And then when they get here, I mean, the bars are a little bit bigger and the mallets are bigger for the bass, but they essentially can, you know, they've been able to do it. So now when they get here, they're like, yeah, I got it.
Right, right.
So,
The muscle memory is there, right? And
yeah,
so that's the
totally.
most important thing. Is there any other cool stuff you want to show us?
Uh, well, cool. I don't know. We have a couple things that are kind of our little thing. In the background, you can see Herm the turtle, Ertl the turtle, and Shoopy the poopy. This is our turtle poop back here.
That's the
And
mascot, or
this is our code for stage presence. So I teach the kids a lot about performing and looking good and sounding good, and how you look when you play, it means almost more than how you sound, because as you know, as humans, we take in so much with all of our senses. And if we have sight, when we see something, we automatically respond to it before we've had the other senses, right? Like if you have a beautiful restaurant, nice expensive meal, and it gets plated beautifully, and it comes to you, and you're like, you know, salivating. You're like, this is going to be so good. Look at this, right?
Right.
You haven't even tried it yet. But your eyes have already told you. So I kind of give them that analogy, and it's the same with you know, performing. If you come out here and you like are into this, even if you mess up or you make a mistake or you don't sound as good as you usually sound or whatever, people will be like, they were amazing. You should have seen these kids. Like, they were jumping around. They were having such a good time. And like, yeah, because they saw you, and it doesn't matter. Like, their ears heard, but what they saw is what they, you know, made a bigger impact, essentially.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about that, about stage presence, and turtle poop is just our code word for it. So you know, if any of the kids ever see this, they would be remiss if I didn't mention turtle poop.
I might use this as the thumbnail for the video, Dave, right here. Like you with the you and the turtle poop and the turtle. It's just everybody's smiling too.
Shoopy the poopy, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a couple other little nuances. This is no hakoodle-upping on the ceiling. Let's see if I can. I don't even know if I can. Oh, it might be backwards.
Hackadoodle-upping.
Close. Hakoodle-upping. No hakoodle-upping.
What is hakoodle-upping? I don't know that.
So you mentioned you're a drummer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know, when you're just hacking around, right? You're just banging around. I also refer to that as noodling, like when you're just noodling around on the instrument. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll be like, "What? You're just throwing up on the instrument right now," like the analogy of like, blah, blah, blah. So I just mushed them all together and made it hakoodle-upping, like no hakoodle-upping. So if, you know, director's talking, like, you know, pay attention, don't, no hakoodle-upping. We have a pledge up on the wall that essentially is like, you know, I pledge allegiance to the hakoodle-upping for which it stands. Like we have a whole thing when they goof off. You know, as I was thinking, you're like, show you something cool. So this actually is something pretty cool.
Cool.
So this is a mural that was done by a former student that I had taught for her, I want to say IB art project to work with like a community organization to, you know, liven up their space with something artistic, right? So she interviewed me, asked me a few questions, and then she came. Nina Orozco is her name, and she came and she you know, she gave me a SketchUp, and then she made this mural, which is like super cool. I'm known to have crazy hair, so that I've had green mohawks before, so that's kind of the ode to the mohawk there. And
that's
then
you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's the X-Man. So in our logo itself, we have the red X-Man. It's part that makes up the V of Vienna and the A of Jammers. And so we kind of brand everything with that X-Man. Like if you out front, let's see if I show you our sign above our face. You can see it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So that X-Man is kind of, that's our Apple branding,
Okay.
so to speak. So that's
Cool.
what the X-Man's doing there. And then downstairs, finish the tour off. Downstairs is where our steel pan ensembles rehearse. And so these are steel pans from Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad. Nice. That's a 6 bass, so that's like one person. It's kind of pinched up right now, but one person stands with all 6 of those around them, and they play. And then it's just like an orchestra, so that's a triple cello, and then we've got double seconds. I don't know if this is too dark, but we've got double seconds. So again, one player, and then the tenors are lead pans. So you've got one person, and then these are the steel pans, and that's kind of it. We turned this in the experience camps I was talking about. We turned this into a drum set room. So we put about 10 drum sets down here, and the kids take turns, like basically learning the basics of drum set. So here they all are. You'll see this is 10 drum sets stacked and stored back up in there. Yeah. But anyway,
what a setup you got there.
That's it. And then there's an office. You don't need a tour of the office.
No. But thank you so much I appreciate the tour. It was wonderful. I love learning about, your organization and what you're bringing to the community. And I really do hope that some kid who's all about drums and is looking for something like this. I think this is such a great, like, everyone likes to get their kids in activities, right? And sports is great. But this is another great way to learn teamwork and like you said, to learn concentration, to learn discipline, all of those things that people associate with taekwondo and like other activities that parents will do. So I think this is just as great. And I hope that this gets you some new folks and some interest. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, what a great guy you are. Like, to do this, number one, we just, people don't know this, but we just met not too long ago. And the fact that we have these things in common, and that you're on, like, just helping other businesses out is super, super awesome. So thanks for doing this. And thanks for, putting the interview together. There was one other thing that we're working on, which I'm super excited about, that I was going to mention. Right now it's still in-house, but eventually it will get to the point where, if we can get it off the ground, where it'll be open up to kids that aren't necessarily in Jammers, but it'll be kind of a wing of Jammers, and it's Jammers Tech. So part of that zigging and zagging to make this keep working during a pandemic, one of the big hurdles is, how do you perform when you can't, like, there's no live performances, right? So, and so we're working right now on pursuing getting the financial support, and kind of putting all the things in place and getting the curriculum together to create a Jammers Tech, which is essentially a couple of professional videographer and audio engineer instructors taking a small group of kids that are interested in that kind of stuff and giving them professional gear and teaching them how to shoot a story, how to storyboard things, and how to sound check something, how to get the best sound out of a mic, and like all the little nitty gritty things to the big picture thing. And then even have an editing workstation. So essentially you're teaching kids how to, create incredible content. And then all of our performance stuff will be created in-house by the kids to put out there, right? So real life application. And so it's like a win-win, right? Because you've got kids that are learning a super valuable, skill set. And then you've also we're able to then create content internally, everything from, learning how to do interview stuff and interview kids and feature a jammer every couple of weeks or whatever, and put that whole thing together, or putting a whole, performance and streaming it online, social media content, like all that stuff, but teaching kids at that age how to do that well. And then also being able to, capitalize on that, so that, we also can take advantage of that, and they're producing stuff that's actually applicable in the real world. I know when 2005 is when I first started doing Vienna Jammers, and go to the website, viennajammers.org. There's a little history there. And shout out to Dave Cohen, Dr. DC, and a kid who asked me, can we do something? He was looking for something to do for high school and help out. And that's kind of where it all started. But the first time we went to the Verizon Center, well, Capital One Arena, but was the Verizon Center, and we performed at a Mystics halftime show. And the kids, and this was like maybe 5th and 6th graders at the time. So like I had maybe like 20 or so 11 and 12-year-olds. We're driving down to DC. We're putting all the equipment in vans. We get down there. We get into the bowels of the Verizon Center, and the experience, like beforehand and doing the sound check, and then going out at halftime and like on the court and setting up and playing and getting a reaction from the audience, and like that was where I was like, there's got to be more. We've got to do more. Like that kind of opportunity for a kid. I mean, I didn't have that opportunity when I was in 5th grade, right? Like I didn't have anything around me like that I could do something like that and get that kind of experience. And so it's always been a goal of mine to take the kids further and further outside of their comfort zone, and further out geographically, or farther out, whatever the correct grammatical usage of the word is, and give them those experiences at a young age to like broaden their horizons. Yeah, it's through music, but to me, it doesn't matter what it's through. I mean, I love music, but just to like create that opportunity, that's what I get fired up about and excited about. And that's what I want to do. So the Jammers Tech thing is the next little, piece. People always say like, were you going to take Vienna Jammers and do like a Sterling Jammers and do like expand out, right? And offer it up. And right now the answer is not yet, because we're not done. This isn't a well-oiled machine that's just running well as an organization, which, I mean, it is, but we haven't done everything we want to do yet. And then once we get to that place, maybe then I'll be like, all right, you want to start a Sterling Jammers? Sure. Here's everything, like, go for it. Right. Right now we want to, like, ideally I'd love to take the kids to Zimbabwe, which is where a lot of this marimba style, the style that we play in, and the marimbas that we play on, that's kind of the root of that music is in Zimbabwe. So how cool would it be to like hop on a plane, pack up the equipment, fly out somewhere abroad, and then fly out to Zimbabwe and like go hear some children's marimba groups that like blow us out of the water, but just to experience that and then have that exchange and have that opportunity, right? At that age, I mean, we kind of keep adding things. Like first was just like do a day performance somewhere we had to take a bus. So we went up to like Atlantic City and we performed at a national convention, and then came back. And then the next step was like, all right, do something where it's overnight. So you got to figure out the logistics of an overnight stay with kids, right? And figuring all those nitty gritty things out. And then the next thing is like, okay, fly somewhere, but do it domestically. So you can still transport the equipment on a truck or whatever. And it was like, fly somewhere where maybe it's domestic, but you got to transport the equipment in the plane too, figure that out. And then the next is fly over, once you do that, you can get over the water because you take your instruments with you. And then it's, sky's the limit. Like go somewhere that's not too crazy first. Just, all right, we're international. Like, okay. And then the next step is, go to Zimbabwe, do it. Why not?
That's amazing, man. I love that vision. And, I mean, I don't think a lot of when people watch this, I hope they watch to the end, because I don't think a lot of people would think out of a percussion ensemble. You've got someone who's thinking about technology and exposing the kids to different cultures and pushing kids out of their comfort limits, right? Which is, I'm big on that. Like I love taking my kids in the woods for hikes and like, just engaging with strangers and people just so that they understand the world is open. Like go out there and be open to the world and experience new things, because it's going to make you a better person. It'll broaden your mind, and the bigger you make your mind, right, the better the world becomes for everybody. So
totally.
You got an awesome vision, man. And I mean, I love the idea, just the percussion, but I really love what you're doing with the kids. And I think you're the right person, right? Because you have that teacher experience, you've got technology, you're a musician, and you're just combining it into one beautiful package for the community. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So any last words or?
Nah, that's it. Just thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, man. So let me just hit record or stop recording.
Cool.